The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
Let's go. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I have Rick Mayston with me today. I always like to get the titles right, so I always write them down. He is the founder and MD of Agent Fox Media. Hello, Rick. How are you doing?
Hi.
You all right?
Yes, I'm great. Thank you for this. It's I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's an absolute pleasure. Now, we have established between us that you are nominated for the East of England Family Business of the Year in the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to the...
No, we can't go because we're too busy. Hence the fact that I'm here on my own, really, because Beverly is working very hard next door. We can't afford for two of us to be away from the laptop for too long. There's so much work going. This is a very busy time of year for us. So she makes her apologies, but you've just got me.
That's all right. And who is Beverly for the benefit of our audience?
Is my wife. We got married during COVID.
Right.
We've actually been married for 3.5 years. But Beverly became, although I started this business when I left Getty Images in 2013 to 2014. Beverly joined the business in 2019 when we got together because her skill sets are very different from mine, and it's become far more successful because she's there.
Oh, well, that's fabulous, isn't it? So a partnership at home and at work seems to be working out really well for you, which is brilliant. So what was the spark that kind of nudged you into entrepreneurship and self-employment? What happened?
I think I've always been that way inclined, to be honest. And when I started work in 1976, I was a studio junior at Royd's Advertising. So originally I went into the commercial art world and a world of rotring pens and magic markers. And I spent quite a few years doing that. But as computers took over, there was a whole young element coming through, and dinosaurs like me who'd used the old ways of a drawing board rather than a laptop were going out of fashion. So I realized that I had to reinvent myself, and I'd been freelance. I've worked at various companies doing commercial art for right up until 1986, I think. Right. But then I was freelance for about 11 years, but I just had to reinvent myself, to be honest. And so I got together with another group of artists who were in the same boat as me. And we decided that we were going to make this sounds so old-fashioned now, but that we were going to make a sticker album,
right,
for individual clubs, because there were football sticker albums out there for the whole of what was the Premier League, or so before it became the Premier League, to be honest. The Premier League, and we felt that they would sell far more if it was to their individual clubs. So we started contacting clubs, but we needed content as well. Right. So I found an agency, the biggest sports agency in the world at that time, called Allsport, and I was there for 3 days sourcing the imagery for it, and they offered me a job. And I'd gone into Virgin Media because we'd done all the background. I'd had all the meetings, and a guy called Rob Shreve, who was then head at Virgin Books.
Right.
He said, "Yes, we'll do this. We want but we'll do it in a quirky way."
Okay.
And then we found out that the license wasn't available because there was an exclusive license for sticker albums, and we couldn't do it.
Oh,
So I
heck.
did all that time, but Allsport, as it was then, said, "Well, look, let's not waste this. Would you like to become a researcher?" And working in sport, but still in the media, I kind of snapped their hand off. This was back in, when was this? This must have been this was 1996.
Right.
And I actually joined with half the staff. I didn't meet half the staff because they were in Atlanta for the Olympics. So I didn't meet them till they got back, and they wondered who the hell I was. So I started as a researcher, completely different from what I was doing.
Totally different.
But I'd already started kind of working with book publishers, and 2 years later, Allsport got bought up by Getty Images. And when Getty Images then merged Allsport with Tony Stone, I found myself taking over the book publishing when we all moved to a new office in Camden. And the rest is history, so they say. So I then worked my way up to European book publishing director, looking after the European offices and make sure that everybody stayed on brand while they were working for book publishers around the world.
What a great story. So all these people are panicking about AI and how it's going to make them redundant. That story is beautiful because that shift in technology actually has created a whole new career for you and a whole new business for you. So anybody who's panicking about AI can now stop panicking and know that they could just reinvent themselves as something else, which is what's happened throughout human history, really. Let's face it, hasn't it?
It has,
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of publishers at the moment who are quite frightened of AI. They don't know how. It's not just in publishing. You've seen it in Hollywood with the actors' strike and the writers' strike out there. So anyone in the media at the moment, has seen what ChatGPT can do, and they are concerned. But eventually, there comes a way of humans working with technology to make it better rather than be replaced. And I'm pretty sure that's going to happen with AI.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you follow the history of, the agricultural revolution and then the industrial revolution, every advance in technology, there's always that period of unrest and unsettlement. And there are strikes. But you're right. We kind of navigate our way around it and go, actually, this will probably work okay. And we'll embrace it and embed it into whatever it is that we're doing. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, good. So you're an agent. So you're a literary agent, aren't you? And are you another kind of agent? Because you've got musicians, I think, as well, haven't you?
Again, this happened organically
Right.
and wasn't planned, because when I left Getty Images 10 years ago now, in 2013, I got put on 6 months gardening leave before I could start any other business. And the idea was to just set up as a literary agent. I'd worked with so many book publishers. I knew book publishing inside out. And But I'd worked with a lot of picture editors rather than commissioning editors. So what I now had to do was to get those picture editors to introduce me to the commissioning editors. But to be honest, I had already started, and this is where the entrepreneur bit comes in. I'd already started to be proactive with my team at Getty Images, so that instead of just picking up the phone to a picture editor and being told we need pictures for this book or that book, I told them to come up with their own ideas for books. And I worked with the Getty Images archive, which used to be the Halton archive, on something called the archival calendar. And what the archival calendar does, and I still have access to it this day. I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to, so I've just told it. You know? But yeah, I worked with them on this archival calendar because for newspapers and magazines, their deadlines are weeks and days and weeks. But with book publishing, it's months. So I needed to know where the events and anniversaries were coming up from 9 months to 6 years in advance, so that we could proactively tell our publishers and give them ideas for books and put little light boxes together for them. Brilliant. So I kind of became a literary agent without knowing it. Actually, probably without even knowing what a literary agent was. So I ended up, and I'll give you, so when 50 Shades of Grey came out, everybody was talking about 50 Shades of Grey. And I was working with a publisher, and this is while I was still at Getty Images. We came up with the idea of just getting a gift book together with pictures from the Getty Images archive of famous people wearing sunglasses.
Oh, cool.
And then we called it 50 Shades. So this is just an example of a book using Getty Images content that I'd started to work on. Another one, and I did a lot of academic publishing. So I worked with people like Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press. And there was a book that was brought out, I think it was by Bloomsbury. If I remember rightly, apologies if it wasn't Bloomsbury. But they did like a 6-volume book of how ethnic dress had lent itself to modern day clothing. Okay. But it was very academic. It was very text led. So I talked to A&C Black, and we did a commercial version of it called Culture to Catwalk.
Oh, beautiful.
The pictures of how ethnic fashion had linked itself to Western fashion. Nice. and been an influence over the years. So they were the sort of books that I was doing. And then, so what I started to do, in fact, my very first book was, instead of just using the photographers, this is how my brain works, instead of just using the photographers that were already with Getty Images, I would license them through Getty Images and then look at doing a book with them, and even bring on, if necessary, authors or writers that would work with them as a package, so we could promote the book through as an exclusive Getty Images book. Now, one of those photographers.
So you still, No, I was
I
going to say you're still using your creative, artistic, visual skills to bring all this together. You're coming at it from a visual perspective, because when you were saying literary agency, I was thinking words, but actually you go to pictures first.
Well, I spent 20 years as a graphic designer, and you can't really get that out of your head. So
Yeah.
what I wanted to do was to bring
Yeah.
that skill set to what I was doing at Getty Images.
Yeah.
So I found a photographer called Nick Vesey. Nick Vesey was one of this country's only X-ray photographers. And he would X-ray anything from flowers to record players to anything.
Oh.
And I thought it would be a great book. So licensed again through Getty Images as a third-party photographer.
Yeah.
I went to Carlton Books, as they were then. They're now Welbeck, and I think they've just been bought up again by Hachette because everyone's merging at the moment. So my very, very first book was one of the directors of Carlton Books was a guy called Jonathan Goodman, and the very first book on the Goodman imprint was this one, which is called X-Ray.
Oh wow!
X-ray photography. I didn't mean to open it up on that page. That's just the page. But he X-rays absolutely everything, and
that's amazing.
And sometimes like really large. So it also worked for Nick, because Nick was one of the only photographers at the time, and I think still is, in the country doing X-ray photography. It's probably only
I've never come across it.
And he was getting on average about 20 hits a week on his website. We brought out this book, and that went up to around 2,500 hits a day on his website, and he's since done 2 other books. So it really worked for him as a photographer because it raised his profile.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think that was the first time that I realized that making a book into a brand identity, and I didn't do anything about this until later, but making a book into brand identity allowed you to promote other aspects and platforms of that brand identity. But also,
right, Rick, do you want to know something really spooky?
Yeah.
Go on. I'll let you finish, but then there's something that I need to tell you that's really spooky. But
how
finish what you're going to say.
So when I eventually set up Beyond the Book, which was the initiative that I started in the Frankfurt Book Fair in October 2013, before I started up the business in March 2014, it enabled me to not only have different platforms for the brand identity itself, but it acted as a promotion tool, but also extra revenue streams for everybody involved. And that's why I ended up, rather than being a traditional literary agent, as I expected to be, I ended up being a multimedia broker, because whatever multimedia platform becomes relevant to that particular project, that's what I put into the project.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at Tricres we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, Join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there.
Hope that makes sense.
I'm with you. Right. So our listeners are going to think that I've set this up, and I absolutely haven't. And I want you to verify that I have not spoken to you before about this. But we have to go. She said, you need to produce a book. I said, what do you mean we need to produce a book? So we train business coaches and consultants. We have a whole range of models and frameworks that we use. And our imagery is great. It's really bright, bold, and very attractive and engaging. And she said, you need to produce a book. And I was like, what kind of book? I don't understand. So we had yesterday somebody go, have you got a book of this? I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have to do a book. So I literally emailed our head of brand and Tammy this morning. Said, we need to get a date in the diary to talk about this book, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, what it's going to look like. And I suspect you and I are going to have a conversation, because between the three of
that one,
yeah, we have no idea what we're doing, what's possible, and what a good thing would be. But you're absolutely right. We've got a demand for it from our learners and clients, and it would be an additional revenue stream as well. And it would be a way in to find out what we do and what we deliver, and also for our licensed coaches and consultants to give out to their clients as well. So it would serve a whole multitude of purposes. So after we've done this, Rick, I'm going to book into your diary and get a meeting with you.
We'll certainly have a chat about that, because 20 years as a graphic designer, what it taught me for what I'm doing now was how to keep things on brand, and how important it is to keep everything on brand. So now with Agent Fox Media, we obviously get books commissioned.
Yeah.
But with the Beyond the Book initiative that I started, it also has TV dramas, TV documentaries, gaming, apps, gallery exhibitions, live Q&As, music and comedy, which we've now started to do as well. So we very much got involved in the events side of it, simply because, to me, in my head, all of these things marry together. And if people recognize the brand and they like the brand, then they will head towards it, in terms of whether it's a live event, whether it's a book, or it's something online.
Brilliant. So I've been watching some of your podcast stuff, and you have, I don't know what the band was called, I can't remember, but they were like a blues jazz band. Yes. Oh my God, they're amazing.
They're brilliant.
Aren't they superb?
And so I met these guys. We got involved in jam nights. I started to work with a guy called Paul Mayston, and I'm going to give Paul a shout out, because Paul actually passed away from a heart attack about a year ago now, and only sort of around 60 years old, and it was a completely unexpected heart attack. But he started jam evenings called Metro Jam. And and what it did was it pulled together professionals and very good amateurs who just wanted to come along and play music. There was no cost involved. There was nothing involved at all. Just come along with your instrument and get up on stage. But it attracted quite a lot of professional session musicians. So Big George, as you're talking about, George Jack and his Brothers of Blues, that lead guitarist is TJ Johnson, who was the guitarist for, oh God, I always forget this. He's been on stage with lots of professional singers and A-list singers, And I got a local, because we put this on in Hertford at the Hertford Club. And you can see it was like a garden party. That's what we wanted to do with it, and we're doing it again this year. But the other guitarist that was on the right, as you look at the video, is a guy called Rob Clydesdale, and he was David Bowie's guitarist.
Oh my God, he's my all-time hero, David Bowie.
So he was David Bowie's guitarist for a while. TJ was God, I can never remember her name. A very, very well known singer who, it will come to me before the end of this podcast.
UK or US?
I think she's US. I think she's US. So everybody that was on stage was professional musicians, but usually only professional in terms of the fact that they were session musicians who never get mentioned.
Yeah.
So, and that's the problem. So Metro Jam was fantastic. As I say, sadly, it has now ended because of Paul's passing. But the legacy that it's left is a hell of a lot of really, really good musicians who I'm trying to give a second life to.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I'm working at the moment with the band that you saw to try and get them onto cruise ships. And I kind of use, because I'm from Hertford, I'm on the committee at the Hertford Club, and the Hertford Club is beautiful. It's this 400-year-old building with a private members club that's been going for 126 years, with a beautiful garden right by the River Lee. And I kind of use it as my Edinburgh festival, if you like.
Perfect.
Because everybody there enjoys what we put on. And if it works, then we take it elsewhere. And brilliant. I love bringing things to my hometown. But also it means that that when something shows that it's popular, then I can take it elsewhere. And one of the things that we've got is you will see from our website, we signed a strategic partnership with Jongleurs Comedy. So we've been putting on Jongleurs Comedy as well. And Jongleurs obviously is a fantastic name of comedy, and a lot of very famous comedians were born with that name. But one of those comedians that came is a guy called Alistair Barry, who actually lives in Hertford, fantastic comedian. And he asked if he could do his hometown gig at the Hertford Club. So we booked in December the 10th. We sold out in 6 days. We put on a second date, and 2 days ago we sold out on that one as well. So he's got a 2-day sellout in his hometown, and the tour is all around the UK, and it's called Woke in Progress. And
I did see that. I wanted to see it, and I looked to see if there are any Edinburgh dates.
I will talk to Alistair, because we're going to have a conversation anyway. So we'll add that to our conversation.
Good. And let me know, because I really wanted to go and see that. And I was like, they're not on in Edinburgh, and that's where I live. Okay, so this is great. Things are going really well. Where are you taking the business, Rick? What's the big plan?
Everything that's happened tends to happen organically, and as I said, my wife came on board. We got married during COVID, but her skill sets are very different to mine, in that she's been a program director and a project manager for some of the biggest UK financial companies, and also for the British Transport Police. Wow. So my mind goes all over the place, and Beverly, my wife, brings me back down to earth. And when it actually comes to putting on these events, she's the one who can actually work with all the number crunching and
Love it.
and making sure that everything is in place. So it works perfectly. So we've been married for 3.5 years now, and Beverly's been on board with the business at the same time. Hence the fact, I think, that we got nominated for this entrepreneur award, which it's fantastic to be recognised, and whether we win or not, it's just wonderful to be in the final 6.
It really is, and everybody. So you're the Steve Jobs, and Beverly is the Steve Wozniak. Everybody needs the visionary and the person who actually makes that vision happen in a way that's sustainable and well
look, I came from
makes sense. I have Alison for that, so I'm the crazy ideas person. We're all good.
Yeah, it's
so you're saying you came from Getty Images?
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
We'll cut.
Okay,
we'll cut this bit.
You're still
out.
Freezing a little bit, but I'll carry on with my story. So I came from Getty Images. Obviously, I spent all those years at Getty Images from 1996 right the way through to 2013. So it was about 17.5 years. But the reason Getty Images worked so well was because Mark Getty was the true entrepreneur and had all the contacts. And then his partner, Jonathan Klein, really got down to the nitty-gritty of the business side. And that really is when a business, I think, really works well, is when you've got skill sets that complement each other and don't.
So if your business was a person or a character, who would it be, or how would you describe it?
Okay, I lost you a bit there, but because it's still freezing a little bit for me on this side. But I think you were asking me if my business was a character, who would it be? That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I guess there's still a little bit of Homer Simpson in me, you know. I don't get everything right, so I can be a little bit of a cross between Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin from Family Guy. So yeah, it's things happen to me and work out okay in the end. So I'm going to choose those two.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Rick, it's been a joy and a pleasure to talk to you today. And I'm going to book in with you to have a conversation, because you're exactly the person that we need right now to talk to. So how serendipitous that you said yes to a random request to appear on our podcast, and best of luck with the awards and best of luck with the business.
Thank you very much. And can I just finish by saying that we're not going to be at the awards night, whoever wins our category, I wish really good luck to everybody that's there that evening, and I hope they enjoy the night. And gutted that we can't be there, but we've just got too much work on it, and if there's so many things I actually can't tell you about that we're working on, because we can't give them away just yet, and we can't give them away till after the new year. But there's some tremendous things that we're working on, including one with schools, which is something we really didn't expect to do. So maybe I'll tell you off there. But
amazing.
But yes, good luck to everybody. And whether we win or whether we come 6th, we don't mind. Just to have been recognised for the work that both my wife and I have put in is incredible.
Yeah, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Occasionally you meet somebody who's crazy enough to think they can change the world. Robert Simpson is an inventor, and I haven't interviewed many inventors for our podcast. I urge you to listen to this. His story, both personally and entrepreneurially, is an inspiration to us all. He's saving lives literally with his invention. And I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed recording this. Thanks for listening, everybody. Did you know at Tricres we've built a kick-ass culture coach and consultant program? So if you're a business coach or consultant and you're looking for something new, add to your toolbox, or even escape the 9 to 5, join us at our next event. Links in the information on the podcast. See you there.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass, where we make it happen. Grab yours